Ballot question 4 will allow recreational use of marijuana in Massachusetts. Connecting Point correspondent Carolee McGrath spoke with Northampton Attorney Richard Evans, a leader of the Question 4 forces, to find out why he wants marijuana legalized and regulated like alcohol.
On November 8th, the voters of Massachusetts will have the opportunity to go into the privacy of a voting booth and declare that the time has come to finally get real about marijuana in Massachusetts. Now, what getting real means is a number of things. For one thing, it means acknowledging that after nearly a century of throwing money at prohibition and criminalization, we acknowledge the brutal truth, if you will, that we're not going to eradicate marijuana no matter how much money we throw at police and prosecutors and courts and so forth. Secondly, it means that with respect to our young people, we need to get honest with them. We need to be serious about trying to protect them from the dangers of all substances and all drugs. It means that we acknowledge that the policies of prohibition, of propaganda rather, and scare tactics haven't kept our young people from using drugs.
No, but when you say you have to be honest with your young people
Yes.
about the dangers,
Yes.
doesn't legalizing marijuana say it's okay?
No, of course it doesn't say it's okay for young people any more than legalizing alcohol says it's okay for young people, or legalizing automobiles, we don't allow young people to drive cars. We don't allow young people to do lots of things that they're dangerous and hazardous, but we teach them to avoid problems with them. And the way to teach people to avoid problems with marijuana is through honesty. We want young people to understand that the effect of a drug is more than just what's in the pill or what's in the joint or whatever in the glass. We want them to understand that the effect of a drug on them is not only a function of the substance itself, but also their circumstances and their understanding, their experience, and their mindset. It's often summarized as saying drug set and setting. But that's the kind of approach we need to bring. The propaganda and scare stories have not succeeded in keeping young people away from marijuana. Now, there are other reasons that we should legalize. It's time to make the marijuana industry pay its fair share of taxes. It's time to create some new industries and create thousands of new jobs. It's time to recognize, and it's getting real. Getting real about marijuana is what legalization is all about. And one of the things that getting real means is recognizing that marijuana prohibition was conceived 3 or 4 generations ago at a time when our cultural and our racial climate was a lot different from it is now. It is a lot different from that to which we aspire. It is an historical fact that marijuana prohibition was conceived and had its origin for the purpose of providing an instrument for racial oppression. I know that's a harsh statement, but no historian will dispute that fact.
So you're saying that by legalizing marijuana, we're going to erase any sort of problems we have?
No, but we're going to start coming to terms with that unfortunate, that brutal fact. It's time to start removing the disparities in law enforcement between black and white. You know, I hear people say frequently that prohibition hasn't worked, and what they mean by that is that criminalization hasn't eradicated marijuana, and certainly it's true, it hasn't.
Well, it has been decriminalized in Massachusetts, right?
That's just removed the excesses of prohibition.
But now we have medical marijuana, so I mean, after marijuana is legalized, let's say it happens, then what? I mean, are you done, or do you move on to the next drug?
No. We've got much more work. We're talking just changing the law to legalization. But I didn't finish your answer question. You asked me first, why should we legalize? And I talked about coming to recognize, getting real about marijuana. It means acknowledging the futility of enforcement. It means trying to get real about trying to help young people avoid problems with it. It means raising some new taxes, new revenue without raising anybody's taxes. It means coming to terms with this reality of the history, the racial history of marijuana, and to be very timely, the most serious public health problem we have today is the opioid overdose
it is.
epidemic.
And
it's time to acknowledge that there is science that establishes that marijuana may be an effective exit drug for narcotic addiction. If you look at the Journal of the American Medical Association 2014, look at that Medicare study that came out in 2015, if you look at the anecdotal evidence, which is abundant, in fact, this was mentioned on page 1 of yesterday's Boston Globe, you will find that it appears to be a real serious prospect that legal access to marijuana can be an extremely effective tool in our struggle against the opioid
but there are
narcotic
many
addiction.
people, doctors included, the governor included, who will say, absolutely not. This is insane to try to push this through with the opioid epidemic. And others will say, in addition, instead of trying to wean people off, I'm guessing by using marijuana, that's the idea, how about just try to encourage people not to go down that road? Maybe put more money into education and trying to reach the kids who are most at risk, who might later become those adults who are addicted.
The question is, should we turn our back on the prospect that marijuana, whatever you think about it, that marijuana could be an effective tool in the struggle against opioid addiction. And that's what the government is doing right now. That's what the Department of Public Health is doing. That's what the governor is doing. That's what the Attorney General, that's what a lot of these so-called experts are doing. They say, I'm not saying that marijuana is a panacea. I'm not suggesting that marijuana is the solution to our opiate crisis, but I am saying that it's irresponsible to close the door on the prospect that it can be an effective tool, that it can be helpful.
When we spoke on the phone, we talked about Colorado. And if you look at Colorado, one of the complaints that law enforcement have is that it's difficult to tell, if they're pulling somebody over, whether or not, or how impaired a person is, as opposed to somebody who's drinking alcohol, because there's a sobriety test for that. How do you handle that? And especially, listen, you may be for legalization of marijuana, but if somebody's driving on the road, you want to make sure that everybody else out there is safe. How are you going to handle that?
Absolutely. First of all, I've heard many cops say over the years, we can't legalize marijuana because there's no breathalyzer for pot. Well, there are gadgets and devices being developed now that are going to be on the market very soon, because what's happened in Colorado has really hastened this. But let me say something more important. We don't need a breathalyzer for pot, and let me tell you why. We have another way. What a breathalyzer does is measure blood alcohol levels with which you predict a driver's impairment. Now, we have some technology today that we didn't have 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
And that technology is called video. Now, with video, which is inexpensive and ubiquitous, as you know, the officer can make a video record of the operation of the motor vehicle, that gave rise to his attention, can video the driver's response when he pulls him over, the interview with the driver, and if the officer feels that the driver is impaired by marijuana, or anything else for that matter, he can subject the driver to a field sobriety test under the watchful gaze of a video camera. And if there is a challenge, then show the video to the judge or the jury and let them decide if the driver was impaired.
This is quite a question that we're going to be looking at coming up in November. We really appreciate you coming in and telling us your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.